Hello, beautiful people. Here we are in sunny Florida, and we're going to talk about what happened on that Dateline. Now, I'm going to just check to see if you guys can hear me, and here I think you can. Can you say it if you can hear me? Can someone let me know? Okay. Okay, I can see that there's people there. Okay, I can see that there's people there. So what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm sorry about that. I had problems with my computer. Obviously, it would not video, even though I've already videoed this and I've already explained this once, if not twice already. But for those who watched the Dateline episode on Monday night, the special episode about Melanie Gibb and what she knew, I know that all of you are going to say exactly what I said. I really didn't hear anything new from that Dateline episode. Hi, everybody. I didn't hear anything new. The only part that came out to me that I had not heard in her subsequent videos or the ones before was that this is what she had said. She said that Alex Cox had said to her, "Do you want to know what happened to JJ?" And then she didn't say what her response was. And then he said, "You don't know. You don't need to know." That's what he said. First, he asked her, "Do you want to know what happened to JJ?" And then he said, "You don't need to know." So why my subscriber was, hi everyone, hi Rock and Robin. Why my subscriber was upset is she felt that she doesn't want another Karla Homolka running around. This subscriber happened to be from Canada. And up in Canada, if you're not familiar with the Karla Homolka case, her husband and her, Paul Bonado, they were just young people in their early 20s. And they had actually, their first murder was Karla's sister, Tammy. Tammy was a 16-year-old, and they got her drunk because both of them wanted to rape her. So what they did was they got Tammy drunk, and then Karla had stolen some type of sleeping agent, and she put it over Tammy's nose so that Tammy would fall asleep. But because she did that, and because they had been feeding her alcohol, she ended up aspirating when she threw up, and she ended up dying. So they didn't mean to kill her. They meant to get her so drunk that she wouldn't know what she was doing. And then, like I said, using the sleeping agent that she would breathe in through her nose, they put a cloth over her nose. It actually left burnt marks on her face because of how firmly Karla had placed that cloth over Tammy's face. So the long story short of this is Tammy ended up dying. They did rape her, and she did die. That wasn't their objective. Their objective was just rape. Paul Bonado had a history of rape in the greater Toronto area, and he was doing it with his wife after they got married. Or actually, this killing was before they got married. They killed Tammy. So then, like very shortly after, just like Lori and Chad, they went off and had this beautiful wedding. And you would never in a day think they had just murdered Karla's little teenage sister. Then what happened is Paul and her got the feeling for murder. So that now they weren't done. Now they were going to rape and get rid of the rape victims by murdering them. So I'm not going to go into the details of how they murdered the next two girls, but it was Leslie Mahaffey and Kirsten French. Again, they were girls from that greater Toronto area. I think Kristen might have been from St. Catherine area, which would have been a little southeasterly of Toronto. And they ended up raping and murdering. Now, Karla participated in the rapes. She participated in the murders. So to get to the punchline here, 8 years later, less than 8 years later, Karla's out of prison. A few years later, Karla's caught as an assistant teacher at it was a volunteer position. It wasn't a paid position, but she was helping a teacher in an elementary school, and she was the assistant teacher in that class until a parent recognized her. There was a parent. The school had taken her in knowing her history. I'm going to repeat that. The school knew her history of raping teenage girls, killing teenage girls, and they let her be an assistant helper teacher at an elementary school. I believe it was a Catholic school. So the point here is you get the Melanie Gibb. You have Melanie Gibb, who, as I said in the last video, you didn't hear it, but she knew when Charles had called her over on January 31st of 2019, he called her over for one specific reason. And you guys all know that reason. He called her over because he decided that he's going to start letting Lori's friends know that she was murderous. So he told her in that meeting that they had at his house the morning after she had stolen his car, had stolen his $35,000, all that stuff. So it was the morning after. So she went over that same afternoon when she had that information from Charles. She went to the police department with Lori and Tylee. And at that time, she stayed hush, hush. She did not disclose to the police what Charles's real intent was. His intent to talk to her was to tell her that they were in danger, not just the children, but of course himself and others who might get in her way. And so the point of connecting Karla Homolka with Melanie Gibb is exactly this. How can you have that kind of information and come July 11th, when Charles gets killed by Lori and Alex and Chad, and if it was Summer, because Summer is the one that sent Alex there, remember? You can't leave Summer out. She sent Alex there. So whoever was involved in that murder, why didn't Melanie Gibb say, yes, Charles had told me that she was going to murder her. She's been mentioning all of this zombified stuff to me. So therefore, it's incumbent on me to go to the police and let them know why Charles might have been murdered. She did not do that. She did not do it when she heard that Tylee was a zombie. She did not do it when she heard JJ was a zombie. She did not do it when they suggested that Kay Woodcock was a zombie. She did not do it when they suggested, and I'm saying they, Chad and Lori and Alex and whoever else, the crazies are involved, because as we all know, we're not talking about normal people, we're talking about crazies. So why didn't Melanie Gibb? So the point is, from my subscriber, I had already did a video, not with Karla Homolka, but she said to me, oh my God, we're going to have another Karla Homolka running around. Karla Homolka only was part of the murders, part of the rape. She actually raped these little girls. And she's out running around being an assistant teacher. Well, what did Melanie Gibb do for her little volunteerism part in life? Wasn't she a teacher at these church classes? Do we really want someone with her background teaching people stuff, teaching children, being around people when she doesn't have the wherewithal to report abuse, report that someone's murderous? Here I am, guys. Can you hear me? Watching from Australia. She is as bad as them. Hi, Neris. Thank you very much. But so I wanted to get that out. I wanted to get that out that we got trouble here. We got really, yes, Karla Homolka, she even admitted it. Guys, I know this part because I know this story like I know the tip of my nose. Listen, Karla Homolka said in the discovery, you will see a video. And in the video, Karla Homolka says, well, we killed Kristen. I didn't want to leave her alone at home with Paul while I went to work. She was jealous of Kristen. So before she went to work, she wanted her dead so that Paul wouldn't be with a little teenager, a little girl that they had stolen out of a parking lot. They abducted her out of a parking lot. And why did they know that? Because the only thing left behind, it wasn't Cinderella's glass slipper. It was Kristen's uniform shoe. She went to a Catholic school, and Kristen French wore one of those Catholic uniforms. And when they pulled her into the car to abduct her, Homolka had pretended they needed directions. So Karla Homolka had gotten out of the car with this giant map and was asking a little 16-year-old directions. And that is when they pulled her into the car. The only thing that was left behind was her shoe. That's the only evidence that they had that they knew she had been abducted from that spot in a parking lot close to the Catholic school. And then guess what? They had her take, and this is just off the subject, but they had her take a psychopathology to see if she was a psychopath. They said her husband, his name was Paul Bernardo, scored about 35 over 40. That means you're bona fide psychopath. But they said hers only came out 5 over 40. So she only had 5 elements of being a psychopath, and he had 35. Well, guess what? Guess who was her almost new husband? Her lawyer's brother. And guess what you can do when you're that close? You can you can scam out of those tests. So it is my opinion that the lawyer or the lawyer's brother told Karla how to rate low on the psychopath scale. Not that that should have meant anything. Her actions, who cares what she rates on a scale, right? Her actions alone, raping teenagers and killing teenagers, should have been enough to keep her in prison for the rest of her life, like Paul Bonato, her husband. Yeah, well, that's it. I got it from, I thought I got it, I don't know who I got it from, but whoever I got it from, I had already done the video on Melanie Gibb, and then I was going to intertwine the Karla Homolka story in it because of you guys. Someone from you wrote me and said, is this going to be another Karla Homolka situation where Karla Homolka is walking around free as a bird? Is really, are we going to have Melanie Gibb walking around free of as a bird, teaching kids, teaching schools, being some type of authority on religion or something? She can't be an authority on how to tie my shoes. You all know that. She should be in a program. She should be institutionalized. And I don't know if that means jail or in a mental health facility or in a halfway house where you have to live by guidelines because your mental health is so, it wavers too much. Her mental health is, as far as I'm concerned, probably one of the worst. It's probably one of the worst people you can come across because she has no constitution. And I've said it before, when you don't have a constitution, means you didn't grow up straight. Then that means you waver all over. So you do and say and you get involved with things because you never grew up straight. Yes, I don't know anything about cults. I just know that these cults are dangerous. What we've been talking about is dangerous. So, yes, guys. So I hope I made a point, and the point is just that we can't afford to have a Karla Homolka named Melanie Gibb running around being part of society when she was essentially an accomplice of some type. She knew information and she withheld it. I don't care if she was an unwilling accomplice, she was still an accomplice. And let's remember those words. Alex, the hitman, said to her, "Do you want to know what happened to JJ?" Then he said to her, "You don't need to know." Those are the only sentences. Those two sentences, one was a question, one was a sentence, that Alex said, that Melanie repeated on that Dateline show, is the only things that came new out of that show. Everything was a repeat in that Dateline Monday special, except these two statements from Melanie that came from Alex Cox, the hitman. So I'm done with my rant, guys. That's all I wanted to say. So if you want to say anything, go right ahead. William Bowers says, multi-siren. Yes, thank you. So let's see what multi-siren says. She says, yes, and she knew where they were and not the police. They cut a deal to get the tapes. And then multi-siren, let me see, I'm going to follow her back. He had taped them as well in their murders. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Yes, and she was only concerned about the stuff in her apartment. When the police and her attorney got her to walk through that house that they were renting, Bernardo and Homolka, and she had no concern. If I went back into a house where all those horrific acts happened, or at least two of them, because the first one was at Karla's parents' house before they were married, I would have gone into some type of shock. But no, she was pointing out what furnishings she wanted to make sure that the prosecutors kept so that she could share them with other people in her family. Now, I'm going to question you. Would you really want any furnishings from a murder scene, from a rape scene, from multiple murder and rape scenes? Karla Homolka had 3 children, and 2 of them still go to the school. I feel sorry for them. They're going to be bullied. Of course. And the only reason she got off is she ended up marrying her attorney's brother. Her attorney was a woman, a black woman. And they, as soon as Karla was released out of her less than 8-year jail sentence for committing 3 murders and more than 3 rapes, because they raped the girls multiple times before they murdered them. So it was multiple rapes. She moved down to some tropical island, and I forget the name of the island, but she moved with her new husband, who was her attorney. So what I am saying to you before, there's that, I forget his name. I'm going to skip right over trying to think of it. Robert Hare, Hare. He does testing. He devised a psychopathology test to you take this test to see how many traits you have, and it tells you how far on the psychopathology list that you're a psychopath. That you may be. Now, they claim that Bernardo was a 35 on the 40 maximum scale. They claim that Homolka was 5 on that scale. But believe me, I know that scale like the back of my hand. And if it was my spouse's sister that was handling my case, I would certainly educate her, I would think, especially if you're a crop person, on how to take that exam and come out so low. I can't believe that you can rape girls that are in their teenhood, and that you can not have, that you cannot be a psychopath. That's just my idea. There's no way that you can intentionally, purposely rape girls and not be a psychopath. So that's what I came in on, and I know you guys have been talking. And we'll go back and hello everyone. Sorry I did this. This will be my 3rd time today. I taped it earlier, and then I couldn't get the tape to come up. The video tape. I call it tape. But in the old days it was tape, right? Now, and then I videoed it again live, and then you guys said you couldn't see it. So then I came back this 3rd time. So here I am, and I'll just read what you're saying, and you guys can give me an idea. Hit the thumbs up, please. Subscribe and share. I think this one's an important one. Usually I giggle when I say share, but I think this one's an important one. This is one that we really given Melanie Gibb carte blanche to just move around in life for the rest of her life without any penalties, without any supervision. I think she needs supervision. I think she's that loopy, that supple to destruction, that someone needs to look over her. And it isn't going to be David Warwick, because they're all the same. Once you've seen one, you've seen them all. And I hate to say this. This is not about LDS. I never want to take that all Germans wanted to kill the Jews, or all Jewish people wanted to hurt Palestinians, or vice versa. It's never about the entire religion. It's never about the entire country. It's about a certain few that get a hold of people. And in my opinion, and I have a very strong opinion, this Chad Daybell, Lori Daybell, possibly Summer Shitlett's cult, Melanie Pawlowski's cult, now Ian Pawlowski, because I haven't seen him run. He kind of alluded to that this was all fake news, but the news has come out and it's not fake. They know the children were dead. So why hasn't he run? Why hasn't Ian Pawlowski put his sneakers on, the best sneakers that he has, and peeled down the road? We haven't seen that happen, have we? Because it's my opinion, he's been in it thick and thin from beginning. Yeah, Nate's a Mormon. Yes, Nate's a Mormon. You can be there's a lot of, in my opinion, let me call them, I always use this word, there's a lot of delusional concepts in Bibles, in scripture, whatever you call it. But most people forego that. Most people read the Bible, absorb it, to take in whatever good they can find in it. Then you get the certain people in the certain religions, not just LDS, that takes the part that they like the best. And it's usually the parts that are open to interpretation, and that you can interpret it as doing something evil. And that's what I think Chad has done. And that is why I think his brother, Matt, who made that letter January 10th of 2020, he said, I haven't had anything to do with Chad since adulthood. He's been way off. His thinking, his teachings, his book writings have been way off. I think we could all say that Matt was someone who really understood that Chad isn't right, and Chad never took the right parts of the Bible. He took the parts he could run with that could lead someone who has evil motives to do evil. Oh, Mel Gibb's book, even if it was free. No, I'm not buying Kelly Fitzgerald. I'm that way. I can afford to buy books, but I will not buy any of their books, even for the educational. It would be like saying Hitler was still alive. Please buy a book. And for some reason, he might receive part of the proceeds. Are you kidding me? I don't need to read his books because they're going to be moronic anyways. Yes, Beverly, Aquarius. Thank you for agreeing with me. I don't know what you're agreeing about, but yes, he's a lost cause. Ian looks like a patsy to me. That's a good way. Oh, and someone had mentioned that, using that word patsy, Laura Diaz-Otten. Someone has mentioned this. Even the mafia doesn't kill their own children. This is even the worst serial killers in the world, including Ted Bundy, who adored his first girlfriend. The first girl he lived with kind of gave him the big kick out the door. She didn't want anything to do with him, and he just adored her. You would think with all of his craziness that he would have went back and paid her dearly for kicking him out. He didn't even kill her. He didn't kill anyone. Same with all of these serial killers. They don't kill the people. Look at that Canadian guy, the Colonel Williams, who went around killing women, raping them, stealing their underwear, keeping an underwear inventory, as a keepsake from his murders. He didn't kill anyone in his family. I mean, I can go on and on. This puts them at a different level than the mafia. This puts them at a different level than serial killers. This puts them at a different level than even family annihilators, because usually family annihilators killing them because they're so stressed out that they can't handle family life. This wasn't it. Lori and Chad weren't stressed out. They were living it up. They didn't have money concerns. They kept getting money. What happened to that $35,000 she stole from Charles's business account? You sure in heck can make sure that she went to Hawaii and spent that, and that Chad didn't come over and visit her. No one has reported that, but that's what I think. And she must have made a few trips up to Rexburg as well. And I hate calling it Rexburg because Chad didn't live in Rexburg. He lived in Salem. And as you all know, Salem in Massachusetts is the haunted town. Well, Salem in Idaho, in my opinion, has the same haunting history to it now. I agree. This was just lust and greed. Yes. They like to say these murders. I didn't know them. I didn't hate them. Yuck. If EMP doesn't leave with their newborn baby as soon as they leave the hospital, then he for sure has been drinking their punch. Yes, Laura, you're 100. James was here, says, oh, LDS has 3 new books written by Smith. They are so badly written, it is difficult to figure out what he means, and they are so full of strange stories most of us has never heard. And again, James, all religion has bizarre in it. That's my opinion. I call it psychosis, that who was writing the books had to have a little psychosis, a little mental derangement. That's my opinion. It doesn't mean it's right. It's my opinion. All religions. It's whether you run with those little pieces of psychosis. It kind of allures you. And if you have a supple mind like the Melanie Gibbs of the world and everyone else in her cult, because she was part of that cult, the same way with David Warwick. They're all, you can tell they're all been under some extreme mind control, some extreme brainwashing. This isn't just Sunday day church goers. These aren't, they don't go in on Sunday and just worship. They're delving into some very dangerous stuff. And as we all have heard, that Matt DAYBELL knew this way back when his brother was just a young adult. He had nothing to do with them. Henrietta says, did research on their religion if blood atonement is okay with you, if polygamy is okay with you. No, none of that. But if men become gods for having multiple wives and have their own planets where they are God, is that okay? My answer, my opinion, Henrietta, no. But do all people run with that? Do all people run with multiple probations and blood atonement, polygamy? No. No, just a certain few. And that's what I said. But all religions have deep, dark psychosis in them. It's like the person was psychotic. They had these psychotic moments, and they write a lot of good. And then every once in a while, there's some bad in it. There's some really evil in it. Bet Ian is part of this crime. Neree says, I bet Ian is part of this crime. At the very least, he could be a part of their circle. You're 100% right. At the very least, he could be part of their circle. Oh, yeah, he's brainwashed. The way he looks at her, the way he looks, I'm not saying he looks at her lovingly. That's not what I meant. Usually when you say that about a guy looking at a woman, it means his eyes are gazing at her in a loving way. No, he's looking at her in a different kind of a gaze. In like, nobody's home. Ian Pulowski doesn't know which door to knock on when he goes home because he's not home. They are going to burn in hell. I don't know about their version of the second coming. Evil will burn unless they respect that only gets to heaven. You still have to answer on earth. Yay! I like that you have to answer. And that just means being a responsible person. That means not doing evil while you're here and think that you're going to have a second life to redeem yourself. You know, that you can be different another time. What Mel gives, yeah, she needs coffee, a beer, a shot of tequila, and a boot in the butt. I added the boot in the butt. Rusted Knight said she needs a coffee, a beer, and a shot of tequila. Gumshoe Graham says, and a boot in the butt. I agree with Graham about Chad. Ian looks like a patsy. Okay, so I've already read these. I have read the Bible from childhood, and I have never read anything that justifies labeling people as zombies as a justification for murdering. Of course not, Mary. And even if you did read it, you wouldn't take it literally. Even if there was some odd story in a Bible, you wouldn't take it literally. Usually you have enough constitution to stand straight against these odd beliefs. These people do not have the constitution, so they go with the odd beliefs. It's dangerous to give them Bibles. They should, the first thing when they go to prison, take all the Bibles out of, they should not be allowed a Bible. It is a dangerous piece of work for them. I would not buy a book about this, as I would not want her to make money on a book. Yeah, Melanie Gibb. I have my belief system, and nowhere does it say thou shalt kill. Yeah, exactly. And I'm not even that religious. I've already told you, my grandfather came over from a different country, and he had like $16, $17 in his pocket when he came over. And one of the first things he did was build a church because he was very religious. But even growing up in that kind of family, even having all the traditional holidays and the traditional get-togethers, I have never succumbed to be a fanatic. And this is what this is about. They only take the bad, and then they become fanatics with the bad. If they became fanatics with the good, we wouldn't be sitting here talking. Erin and Lexi says, agree with you, Gumshoe Graham. I'm not generally aggressive, but they make me want a gun. And in England, we are not allowed. How does that fare, Joji, with the violence over there? Are your statistics down because you're not allowed guns? for like murders and that kind of violent crimes. I was raised a fundamental, but nowhere did it say that garbage. See? See? Yeah. And when it does say that garbage, we ignore it. We pass by it and we kind of go, oh, that's silly. You know, that's like a silly part of what we're reading. We don't take it for fact and run with it. We are one with God. Chad's underwear had to be magic for Lori to have wanted to sleep with him. I wish he had a magic carpet and could have taken her for a long ride somewhere beyond wherever he goes. One of their rules in the temple, says Henrietta, is exactly that. Go research Mormon LDS. It is very scary. And I understand that. And I understand that. But do all LDS people run with it? That's my point. That's my point. Do they all run with the bad? No guns allowed in Australia also, but this group needs bringing down. Oh my God. Mormon underwear is literally cheesecloth. This life is hard enough. Damn, if I want, I'm another one. Damned if I want, I'm another one, says Chrissy Jackson. I am from the UK, says Mary Kennerly. We have knife crime, usually young people stabbing another young person. Yeah, that makes sense, that if they don't have access to guns, that Book of Revelation is a disaster. And I really don't know anything about it. I really don't. I'm ignorant, very ignorant when it comes to LDS. But so do you agree that Melanie, as many of you that can, please say yes or no. Do you think that Melanie Gibb is somewhat a threat to communities and through her writings possibly as time goes on if they don't adjudicate her for something? If she walks free, which it looks like that's what's going to happen, they're glorifying her parts in all of this. Do you think that she would be completely harmless? Yes or no? How can anyone make up those horrible lies about Kay and Larry Woodcock when all they did was raise awareness? It's called Laura Diaz Otten. It's called reverse psychology. It doesn't even come into psychology degrees. You just learn it from life. When there is someone who has done something bad, they reverse it onto the so-called victims. And in this case, it was Larry and Kay because their grandchildren were missing. So they reverse psychology. It was gaslighting, 100%. Every time they got on the news, that Summer and that Janice, that Ann and Melanie were addicted to it. They couldn't get off the news. They went on many different channels. You know, at least you can give Summer a hair bit of credit. She only went on 48 hours and then she wrote a few things on social media. But that Ian and Melanie, they were doing, you know, a PR campaign for themselves, even though they were bluffing the whole way. How empty must these people be to fill themselves with this bull caca? I believe they were evil incarnate, masquerading as humans until they couldn't anymore, Suzanne says. There are others in the cesspool, and it's frightening. Yes, Suzanne A. 100%. And that's why I'm saying they're gonna, as Gibbs says about Lori, that Lori velcros you to, that Lori has the ability to really make you adhere to her, just like Velcro. Well, it's the same with Gibb. They all have that ability. They all have the ability to smooth their way in very softly, very gently. And you don't see the evil until it's too late, like in this case. James was there saying, good night. You must be in a different country or you have a different schedule. Night, James. Laura Diaz-Otten says Melanie G should be under arrest, and maybe she avoided that by making a deal to uncover all of the secrets. Yes, and I agree with you. And yes, that earns her a little bit. That she gets a little, we can take a little of her guilt and, carve it off the guilt post. But there's some guilt, there's some real criminal offenses, in my opinion, especially, let's just start with what I said a day or two ago. When that officer in that January 31st interview with Lori, Tylee, and Gibb, when that officer looked right at her and said, "What did Charles say to you?" Her words should have been, he said he's worried that Lori's going to murder me. She's going to murder someone. The kids are in danger. JJ's in danger. He's worried. But she didn't say that, guys. She went mute. That is why I have a problem with her. Because anytime she could have gone back to that police department and said, I was quiet because she's my friend and I felt loyalty. But I know there's a crime when a public official asks you a question and you know that answer and you do not answer that question straightforward, that's a crime. She can be charged for that crime alone. Forget about what she did thereafter. Never reporting Charles's death, the first death, as a crime. Never reporting that she had gotten wind that he had a target on his back. Good night, Nerese. Oh, everyone's saying good night here. I think she knew she was going to happen. Oh, 100%, Henrietta. I think she was ready. Yes, she is a threat, Nerese says. I hope we all learn all the details soon and that she was implicated. Oh, there's details right now that she was complicit to some degree. Melanie G should be under arrest. Yep. I think she knew what was going to happen to the kids. That's the worst statement in all of this chat, Henrietta. How many of you would be knocking down every door in every police area, telling them, shoot? You'd be putting it in writing. You'd be saying it. You'd probably even go to the news media. These kids are at risk. Henrietta said it best. I think she knew what was going to happen to the kids. And it's more than us, I think. I think she really knew what was going to happen to those kids. And all the baloney that they have put us through, all of those news programs that we've had to watch, how Lori was the ultimate mother. No, Lori was the ultimate actress. She was never a good mother. A good mother can never do what she did to her children. Never. So she's discounted all those words of the best mother. It was all of an act. Yes, I agree with you, Multi-Sirens, that I know that you heard someone else say she's going to take over. Melanie Gibb has to be under a deal. Yep. A deal with the prosecution. Yep. Or something is going on here that we know. She's under a deal. She gave them some real viable information. You guys didn't know of this, but I was on a channel one day. It was a national media channel. I was watching it, and it was talking about the case. And on comes a clip of Kay Woodcock and Larry. And in that clip, it says, Kay Woodcock says, the FBI had just told her that there's no signs of life. After I watched the clip, I was so despondent. I went on other people's channels and I kept writing it. The FBI says there's no signs of life. Now, this was months ago. This wasn't just 1 month ago. This was months ago. Somehow, the FBI reported to Kay and Larry that there was no signs of life, that there was no trails to follow, none. And so I kept putting it on different creators' sites. And after a while, like after writing for like 10 minutes, someone wrote me back, and he had a male's name. And he said to me, where did you get this information? So I said, hold on a second. I'll go back to the site. I'll attach the link to you, because that's what he asked me to do. He said, can you give me that link? And I said, sure. So I went back, got the link where Kay is saying that the FBI said that the kids, there's no sign of life. So I gave him that link. 5 minutes later, they had edited out. This was a major television station. This was not a YouTuber. This was like, I can't remember if it was ABC or whatever. They had taken that whole section out. So that man I had been talking to that wanted to know where I had just heard that, wanted to know for a reason. I don't know if they send people into our chats and monitor our chats. And when he heard me saying that in the comments, it got immediately taken out of. So what I'm trying to tell you, it was my opinion based on Kay Woodcock's comment months ago that they knew the children were dead. They were never looking for them in the sense of being alive. I think Melanie Gibb is so programmed that she is paralyzed and powerless to break free. She never helped the people in danger at all, or never helped at the right time. SMH 9000, I get a kick out of it, not really, when she goes, well, that's interesting. Oh, I found that very interesting. Now that is crazy talk when someone's been murdered. How do you find that interesting? Yes, Mary Kennerly. So from that day on, Mary Kennerly, it never left my heart that the FBI knew that they were dead. She went into hiding after Alex died, then stayed in hiding until Chad and Lori were both arrested and in jail. No, Chad hadn't been arrested yet, just Lori. Kelly Fitzgerald. Chad got arrested June 9th. She came out publicly a few months back. So no, she didn't come out of hiding. She just had gotten all her, ducks in a row. She felt more secure. The affidavit came out minutes before they aired this last show. Melanie was not prepared, and it showed. Yeah. Yep. You're right, Deborah Adams. Then she's a dangerous. We already know that she is a liar. When she went to the police with Lori, she lied by omission. Yes, Cat 73. She lied by omission. I mean, if someone says, what was your conversation? And you can't say he's scared to death for his children, and he's also scared for himself and others. And others. So he knew that there was going to be surmounting bodies being piled up somewhere. He knew it from what Lori was expressing to him. Yeah, she omitted David, is right. What did Aaron say? Aaron and let's see. Suzanne, know nothing. They know more than they're letting on here. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, there's going to be a lot given out as time goes by. There's going to be a lot of information. That's a good way to describe Melanie Gibb. She was paralyzed, but I'm going to take it one step further. I'm going to say she was paralyzed way before these murders happened. Her brain's been paralyzed for a long, long time. So it just got deeper paralyzed. And the denial's so thick. They have to deny so many things when they belong to a cult. They have to deny so many things that denial is the one that leads them. Their truth isn't the Melanie Pulowski truth, as you can see. Their truth is denial of everything that is bad around them. Yeah, they said they got to marry Kay Donovan. I heard that they got to finish all of the testing for us on the children's before that they can have a funeral. The truth is right before our eyes now, but she did omit David in her 3 interviews with Nate. Why? Because she knew we would read into it. Yep. Yeah, you're 100% right. Does anyone, is he just as hypnotized as the rest of them into this cult beliefs? If they all proclaim how innocent they all are, then why not offer to take a lie that, yeah, Maureen, that's a good one. That's a real good one. Notice how they all waited until Alex died before they could come and say something? Yeah, they need a scapegoat, and they were only scared for their own little bottoms. You got to remember, this group only thinks themselves are important. Only you. Only Melanie Gibb is important. Only Lori Daybell is important. Only Chad Day. They don't consider outside of themselves. So it's all about their bottoms. I'm curious if Melanie G was afraid if her own children were considered dark. Well, I'm sure they are now. If they weren't dark before Tina Medley, I bet they're dark now. The only dark people in this world are adults. Yes, you're right, Aaron and Lexi. Maureen says, sociopaths tend to pass a lie detector test, though. Yeah, they do, because they don't have the same responses. Their pulse rate doesn't go up like ours. If we're lying, I guess our pulse goes up, something like that. There's some kind of movement, and the detective detects it. But with these people, because their lies don't bother them, because it's the way of living, that they don't, yeah, so that's why they asked Chris Watts when he went in to take the lie detector. They said, breathe normally, Chris. Like, don't hold your breath, because that's what others do. They try to hold their breath so that the rate doesn't shoot up. No empathy, so the pulse is steady. Yeah, exactly. You know, yeah, if you only care, Maureen Walsh, if you only care about yourself, then how would you care if JJ and Tylee got killed? How would you care if Charles was killed and Tammy Daybell and Brandon Boudreaux almost shot at? Well, he was shot at, almost killed. Yeah. Oh, Lori passed the psychic bell for just this. She passed with this. Just like she said in Hawaii, when the news reporters asked her, they said, "Where are your children?" And she'd go, "No, no comment." And then Nate says to her in Hawaii, "Come on, the whole world's worried about your children. The whole world's praying for your children around the country." And she went, "That's great. That's great." Yes, that's how they do it. They can act unaffected. They have no emotions. They have no affect. If you were to put them on it would be like like on those monitors in the emergency room. They would have they'd be flatlined with their emotions. The same thing. You know how people die and the line goes flat? Well, it's the same thing. They're dead with their emotions, so they flatline on all of those tests. Yes, same with me, Rusted Knight. I want the death penalty on Chad and Lori and whoever else is involved. Yeah, she isn't real, Multi-Sirens. None of them show any emotion. They are totally brainwashed. Yes. I want to see Lori feel something besides lust for attention and money. I want to see her cry. Oh, she isn't going to cry. No comment. No comment. How can you say that when the reporters are looking for your children and you know where they are? How can you say it in the way that she says it? Oh, the whole world's worried about your children. That's what Nate says. They're praying for them, Lori. What about you? Sarcastically, that's great. Sarcastically. Like, my children's bodies are not worthy of you worrying about. It seemed to me that Melanie enjoyed being on TV, yes. Talking, yes. She enjoyed a little too much, Cat 73 says. Gibb is under protection for her testimony. That is why she is glib. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, she's under protection. It seemed to me that Melanie enjoyed being on TV, yes. I wonder if they have Lori in her own cell at jail, since she is at risk to be kicked around by mums that are in there with her. I hope she's in there with 11 other mums. I want the death penalty too, says Kelly Fitzgerald, but there is so many perks to being on death row. Internet access, multiple appeals, TV airtime. I'd rather just get a job folding linen. I don't know. Yeah. What do you mean, Sherry Evans? You said check out April Raymond on October 7th. Oh, check out her post. What is it on? Is it on a Facebook? Is it on April Raymond's Facebook